There we go. Do you hear me, Wade?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So I guess the first thing to get out of the way is what's your expectations for this West Virginia match?
Wow, it's going to be a heck of a game. They've been a really, really good team since joining our league. That's probably an understatement. They came into the league and won a bunch of championships, made a run to the Final Four. So we have a ton of respect for their program. And this year's version looks pretty good so far from what we've seen on video. They were good last year. They were just a little bit young, but they were very athletic and posed a lot of problems. So yeah, I mean, it's a game that you get excited for. These are the games that, as a coach, you look forward to matching your wits against another really good team. So yeah, we're looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a huge challenge for both teams, but it should be a really, really entertaining game.
Are there any way, like with them playing the same opening two games as you guys, has that kind of made the preparation for this match a little bit easier?
Well, I think just having two games to watch helps, as opposed to opening weekend where we went in blind, really. So getting to see them twice has helped a little bit. But this year of all years, as we've talked about, who knows who they're bringing. They may have a couple of injuries. They may have a couple of kids out due to the COVID restrictions, just like we may. So really, until you line up Friday, not really sure what each team's going to put out there. But, I would anticipate no matter who's on the field that they're going to play their system and their shape, what they like to do, and we're prepared for it. And they'll think the same about us. We're not, at this point in the season, I don't think you're going to see any drastic changes.
And then one of the first polls came out this week, and I saw you guys were 6th ranked. What does that say about the program and what has been built here for the last few years?
Well, it's always nice to see your name up in those lists. Now, this year, I should preface it, it's a little bit different. They're only ranking 15, and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten aren't playing, so that kind of changes everything, I think, in all the sports. But still, to be thought of that highly out of all the teams that are playing, we were in there above a lot of really good ACC teams and SEC teams, so and other Big 12 teams. So it obviously shows what people think of our program and what we have returning from last year. And yeah, it's like I said, it doesn't mean that much to me anymore because we just want to go win every game. But it is nice for our kids, I think, to realize that people nationally are taking note of what they're doing.
And was there any kind of any revelation whenever they learned of that ranking?
No, I mean, we just tell the kids, each Monday, I think, or Tuesday when those come out, if we get any Big 12 awards or any rankings or anything, we just share it with the team. Just most of them already know anyway because of social media nowadays, but we just announce it and they kind of, get a little bit excited. But, then we get out to training and knock them back down to earth real quick and make sure they just know they got to keep working hard,
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And one of the things I noticed last week sitting up in the booth with the online media guide was just how many players from Texas you guys have on your team. I mean, even more so than players from Oklahoma. We always hear about Texas high school football and the powerhouse it is there. But is Texas a powerhouse high school soccer state?
Yeah, it is. We're fortunate geographically to be right next to Texas because the DFW area, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, they all produce not only great football players, but I think if you look at our basketball rosters and soccer, you're going to see a lot of Texas athletes as well. So that's a recruiting hotbed, not just for us, but for everybody. And I think part of that's population based, right? I mean, DFW area has probably got about 10 million people by itself. So, just by the numbers, there's going to be a lot of good athletes there. But we've historically, especially over the last sort of 5-6 years, we've tried very, very hard to recruit the Dallas area and, of course, Houston as well. And we've had a lot of success there. So, yeah, that trend's probably going to continue. There's going to be a lot of Texas kids all throughout our roster, hopefully, and doing well.
Would you say you recruit DFW in those big areas of Texas more so than you recruit Oklahoma City and Tulsa?
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, just based on the number of athletes there, every year in Oklahoma, there's good players, obviously. There just isn't the same number of players as there is in those areas. So we always go after the top in-state kids. We've prided ourselves historically on bringing in some of the best in-state talent every year. The problem is if we're developing 5 to 10 elite players in Oklahoma a year, you go down to Texas, there's 150 of them. And that's the difference. So yeah, we'll continue to recruit Oklahoma hard and try to get the best kids in state to stay home. But we also understand that, going down into Texas, there's just so many more options and, so many more number of quality athletes for us to recruit.
Do you think that's just population based? Like that makes sense, right? That there's so many more players in Texas just based on the population. But do you think there are any other kind of factors that maybe contribute to the great soccer talent in Texas?
Maybe. I mean, maybe the competition. Those kids, if you're in Dallas and you're playing on a club team, say Solar, and every week you're training and playing against top quality players because of the depth of talent is so great. If you're an elite kid in Oklahoma, you might only be challenged, a couple of times a month instead of every week. And I think that can play into the development for sure. But yeah, the population, I mean, the states that nationally are producing a lot of the top players, California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Ohio, Michigan. I mean, these are some of the big population centers, New York. There's always a lot of good players coming out of those areas. And clearly a big part of that's just they have so many kids that play youth sports that's probably just going to happen naturally.
Gotcha. And I had another kind of theme of question based on another observation I saw sitting up high in Neil Patterson Stadium was the substitutions. Like that's not really something you see on TV or elsewhere. But up in the booth, you could see all the players coming in and out. I'm curious, what goes into your mindset of making a substitution? Do you go into the game saying, okay, we're going to sub out player X for player Y with 30 minutes to go in the first half, or do you let it go more naturally?
A little bit of both. We usually have a group of players that we feel like we want to get on the field because they've earned it, through either previous games or training. So you go in with a plan of, okay, we got to get this kid on and we need to try to figure out how to get this kid on. But the flow of the game changes all that, right? If a kid's tired and needs a break, or if somebody's not playing well, or if the other team are doing something tactically that you want to make a change, those things all factor in. So we do have a little bit of a plan of what we'd like to do, but that does change throughout the game. So it's hard. And then, some games you sub a lot just based on how the game's going, and other games your team might have a really good rhythm and you don't want to break that up. And even though the other kid's a good player and they've done nothing wrong, you're just hesitant to take somebody off who's maybe feeling it, So I think there's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of pre-planning and obviously some in-game adjustments that go into that thought process.
Have you ever subbed out a player and you're like, oh, like I wish I wouldn't have done that? Is there ever any second thoughts that come with making those tough decisions?
Constantly, yeah. I think it happens a lot more than you'd think. Sometimes you look like a hero, right? You make a sub and that kid goes in and scores with her first touch and everybody's like, great sub, coach. And you had no idea that was going to happen. But yeah,
sure you did. Sure, you knew it was going to happen. Sure you did.
Clearly, that's just great coaching, of course. But we all do that. And there's other times that maybe you sub a kid out too early and the kid who goes in doesn't play well. And you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I really shouldn't have made that change. So I think that can go both ways. But we all second guess ourselves. It's natural. It's what fans do. It's what coaches do. It's what players do. But it's always easy to look back and go, gosh, I would have done that differently. But in the midst of the game, it's quite difficult to get those all right.
And my last question for you regarding substitutions is when I was kind of doing some research and when I first got on the OSU soccer beat, that was one of the things that stuck out to me is how you can make so many different substitutions and those players can exit and re-enter the game. As someone who had watched, like the World Cup and stuff, I was so used to those limited substitutions where once you're in, you're in. Do you like how college substitutions are set up? Is there anything you'd like to, maybe see or do differently compared to professionals?
Yeah, that's a big debate within the soccer world, especially in the men's side, I think. But what people have to understand with college soccer is, setting aside this year, a normal college soccer season, we play 2 games a week, not 1. And a lot of teams play Friday, Sunday. Some play Thursday, Sunday. But when we were playing Friday, Sunday, I would say it's next to physically impossible for a kid to play a high-level game 90 minutes on Friday and then do it again at the same level on Sunday. So I think the substitution rules are partly put in for that, is to protect the kids. Secondly, we're not professionals, and a lot of these kids are paying money to attend the university, and that allows us a little bit more flexibility to get more players on the field. And I think that's an important thing. We want to win, you're going to earn your minutes and all that, but it does, if you're up a couple of goals, it gives you flexibility to put a kid in, knowing that if things don't go well, you can put the starter back in if you need to. So I think those two reasons, I do like the substitution rules in college. We do have some restrictions. There's no re-entry in the first half. So if you come out in the first half, you can't go until second. I like that. But if we went to the FIFA rules of 3 subs a game, there's no way we could carry a roster of 30 because we wouldn't be able to play people, and you'd have so many kids transferring to try to go play somewhere else.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Of course.
Let me try and get unmuted here. Good to talk to you, Coach.
You too.
Let's see. So I'm going to hit you with a couple questions in a different vein. My first question, I was thinking about the game against Iowa State last week. With the team getting off to such a hot start in Manhattan, last Saturday was the first time this season that y'all had to play from behind. Before Gabriella netted that goal, did you sense any desperation from your team?
No. The good news, I think, about this group, they're very experienced. They didn't lose their composure, which I thought was great. I think if you have a young team, it's easy to get flustered if the other team score on you. But, we had such great leaders, including Gabriella, that I don't think there was a sense of panic. There was probably just a sense of, okay, we need to up it a little bit here and try to get that goal back. So I was really pleased with how we responded. I wouldn't say we wanted to fall behind, because that would be a silly thing to say, but I think it was good for the development of this team, because it was so easy after we got the 2-goal lead at Kansas State. This added a little different dynamic to the group, and they weren't happy with how they played, but they were really happy with how they responded to going behind and figuring out a way to come back and win, which is not an easy thing to do. So I think the leadership and a lot of the experience we have, allowed us not to panic in that situation and just kind of keep going with what we were doing and find a way to get back in the game.
Okay, and as a kid who's pretty new to covering soccer, one thing I was kind of trying to look up for on the booth was maybe a formation shift. I realize in hockey, when teams are down late, they'll pull the goalkeeper, and while that would never be something that happens in soccer, when or did you not shift formations to maybe get that goal? Was there any thought behind that?
No, we didn't, because I think we scored pretty quickly after they scored, and there was still about 35 minutes left. So I think if they'd scored with 10 minutes left, we might have told we basically play with one target forward and 2 underneath. It would have been possible. We might have told those 3 to all stay higher and played a little bit more direct, or we might have possibly pulled a center back and went with 2 center backs instead of 3 and pushed one more up. But I think at that point in the game, we were still creating chances, and we still looked like a threat. So we just didn't feel like it was any need to change the system. But you're right. If it happened later in the game, that might have changed our mindset a little bit.
Awesome. And then kind of shifting gears a little bit, in my post-game interview with Grace told me that in practice, one thing you guys do pretty regularly is practice PKs. So, obviously that looks like a genius coaching move, with how last night turned out last game. But I'm curious, what does the PK drills look like? Does everyone practice them, or maybe just a select few players? Do you go over strategy? How does that work in practice?
Yeah, just a select few. I mean, we don't have all of them hit them. We probably have a group of about 10, then we narrow that down to maybe 3 or 4. And out of those 3 or 4, that's who you're probably going to rely on to take them. Again, in a normal year, late in the season, we would start taking more penalties as we go into postseason, because that can be a way to decide games with a penalty shootout. So you want to expand that group to about 8 probably at that point. But we've got 3 or 4. Kim's one of them. Yokes is one of them. Hannah Webb's another. Olivia can take them. I think G could probably take them. So Allie Jackson. We got a group that we know we can rely on. And, Kim stepped up, hit the first one. The keeper made a great save, to be fair. And, the AR deemed that she had just moved slightly early, which on video, I agree that she did, but it wasn't a lot. And, if I was the Iowa State coach, if I'm honest, I would not be happy with that decision. So, but you have to give Grace a lot of credit because that's a high pressure situation. She stepped up and buried it. And, I think Grace would admit she didn't have her best game on Friday night, but, to be in that moment and step up when you're not at your best and find a way to win for the team, I was really proud of her. She showed a lot of toughness.
Awesome. And my last question, just a short follow-up, is that kind of viewed as maybe a fun drill among the players? I know it's certainly one of the most fun plays in soccer to watch. Is that kind of viewed as a fun drill?
Yeah, a little bit. We practice them and we don't really give them advice other than just take the shot you're comfortable with, because some people like to go low, some go high, some go left, some go right. It's really, to me, finding where you're comfortable and sticking with it. But we do have the other kids who aren't taking them yell and scream a little bit to try and, simulate what they might get in a game. But it's hard, obviously. And then, late in the year, we do one fun thing where as we go into postseason and we start practicing our penalty shootouts, sometimes we do staff against players. And my mind is defeated the last 10 years, but I think the players might debate that.
I hope you're pretty lethal from the penalty spot. Do you ever kick off your shoe or anything like you see on those blooper reels? Any tricks like that?
Not intentionally. The shoe might have come off on accident or something. But ask Wade. He's pretty good at them as well. He's had a few of them.
Oh. All right.
No comment. Let's move on to Kionna.
Awesome. Kionna's right here. She's going to join you guys. Thank you. All right, buddy. You got this.
Thanks. Hello.
All righty, here's Kionna. So I'll let you guys just go ahead and ask questions.
Okay. Hey, I'll just go since I'm unmuted. Sorry, Jacob, if that's good with you. I'm just going to pull up my questions here. Okay. So, Kionna, with your team getting off to such a hot start against K-State, last Saturday was the first time that y'all have played from behind this season. Before Gabriella netted that goal, did you sense any desperation from your team?
No, not really. As a team, we always work to just focus on the moment, what we can manage at that moment for yourself with the team. Honestly, we knew we were behind. We knew we needed to pick it up, get that goal back, because obviously we don't want to lose. But I think how our mentality was is more, okay, let's just stay focused, keep grinding, and just see what we can make out of it.
Yeah. Do you maybe play differently when you're, ahead 2 goals than behind? Obviously you might shift formations or maybe try and be a little more aggressive, but is there kind of do you feel a major difference, when you're ahead or behind when you play, or do you attack the same?
I try to keep it the same momentum, but of course I get a little more lax a little bit when we're ahead, at least 2 goals. If it's 2-0, it's okay, we got it. Just keep it calm, just keep playing the game, just hold them off. But especially if we're down a goal, it's okay, no more letting them get behind you. Stick it to them, keep it going, just stay focused, just play hard.
Yeah. And my other question, shifting gears a little bit, I just got off the phone with Coach, and he was telling me how one thing y'all do in practice is practice PKs. Are you in the group of the players that practices PKs or, might be able to take them?
I'm not in the group that practice the PKs, but we have the group of girls that we have, and they're more experienced than I am, and especially at this level. So I'm just more just observing, watching how they play, how they prepare, and hopefully one day I'll get my chance to do it. But if not, I'm still going to be there to support them. So,
Is that something, I guess I can understand how it's reserved for maybe the older players. I understand you're pretty new around here, but is it kind of something that people aspire to, or it's definitely one of the most fun things in soccer to do, at least from an outsider's perspective? Is that something you'd maybe like to do eventually?
I used to do them before on my club team. So, yeah, they're fun to do. I don't really feel that stressed about doing it. But, yeah, I mean, I might aspire to do it at one point. If not, I like to still be, playing my role. Right now, I'm playing in a defensive role. So I'm focusing on how I can help my team keep a scoreless sheet. Helping how I can get the ball to my forward so she can do all the scoring and look flashy. Like, that's what I'm mostly focused on right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
So what was your first reaction to seeing the first poll that came out and saw that you guys were 6th?
I was really happy, honestly, because I didn't know what we would get ranked, especially like how they're doing the ranking now this year. But when we saw that we were 6th, I was like, okay. I was like, that's not bad at all. Like, we have room to improve, and it's like, okay, that just means we have a target on our back now. We just got to keep pushing forward.
Was there any added pressure that kind of comes with knowing that you're rated that highly?
I feel like there is, just because of the fact that we are ranked kind of high. So it's like, okay, like, yeah, you're definitely a team to be watching. So, you know, they're going to be watching out for like certain players or your team as a whole. And so, you know, you always got to like keep improving and working on what you can work on, just to make sure like we all stay the best as we all can possibly be, just to keep on improving.
And how important is being able to see all the experienced players on this team that have kind of been there before and kind of get their experience passed down to you from that?
It's actually really amazing, because I remember being that freshman, just watching from the audience, watching them play, and like wishing I got the opportunity to play alongside them or learn from them. And the fact that I do get this year to be with the returning players and learn from them and see how they play up close and personal, I actually am very happy about that, because I feel like I can learn so much more. So like, even when I do have to end up eventually leaving, it's like, okay, like we can keep up, we can hold the mantle and just keep on going with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Kionna, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I'm just going to be one of the Ocali beat reporters covering the team this season. So I'm Ben. Just wanted to say hi before I ask you some questions.
It's fine.
Well, I want to ask you first about something that, you know, maybe isn't so fun about soccer, which is subbing out, right?
Yeah.
I saw you subbed, I think, out in the first half, and then you started the second half, and then I think you got subbed out again and then came back in the game later. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the first thought that pops into your head when you know you're going to sub out? Is it like you see, I think Alex Morris was the one who subbed out or subbed in for you. Does she come like running on, calling your name? Like, how does she get your attention? How do you know you're subbing out?
I hear the key and I'm just like, oh, okay, like, oh, that's me? All right, I gotta go. So, like, I mean, it's not like anything bad, because, like, as long as Colin doesn't start to yell at me, I'm like, okay, that means I'm doing something right. So, he obviously has a plan. So, like, if he subs me out for somebody else, that's perfectly fine, because that means he sees something that I probably don't. Someone could probably improve somewhere I'm not improving at right now. And then I can still watch from the sideline and see what it is that I'm not doing that they are doing, so I can improve my game as well.
And what does like subbing out kind of feel like for you? I'm guessing you didn't sub out a whole lot as you were, you know, one of the better players getting recruited to play college soccer on your club team or in high school. Like, is it kind of like a shock to be like, wow, I guess I have to like come, you know, sub in and out a lot in college?
No, actually, it's not surprising, just because I am one of the few freshmen that do get to play a lot of minutes, especially this year. And the fact that I even get to is like, I'm just very happy that I can. But being subbed out, it's like, okay, let me see what is it that I messed up on, or what is it that the coaches need to talk to me. Because there are times like I'll get subbed out and it's just so they can talk to me about an opponent we're playing against or someone I have to mark. So it's more or less just like, okay, a strategic play. So it's not necessarily surprising, just because of the fact that there are girls that have been here before me and they need their minutes in as well. And also from a learning perspective for me as a freshman.
Gotcha. And that was kind of the last question I had on subbing out was when you go to the sideline, you're getting like talked to by the coaches about like strategy and stuff. Obviously, you have to, you know, put your mask on before you go out. What do you do on the sideline knowing you're going to come back into the match?
I just get focused when we talk to the coaches, like if it's Colin or Karen or Justin that decided to come and talk to me about the game or what it is that I need to fix, or like this is what I need to watch. I'm like, okay, so I watch my opponent. I see what it is that she is doing that I need to like watch out for. I pay attention to like body language of my teammates and like the mentality. And I just really like focus myself to the game and just stay focused on what we're at, like what we're doing at that moment.
Do you like chug some water? Like, you know, do you maybe
Oh,
like
yeah.
sit down? Like Like, do your coaches tell you to rest up? Like, how does that work?
When he definitely tells me to rest up, I'm like, okay, like I can get my breath a little bit now, but definitely get some water because it's hot when we play, so it's like I'm a little tired. But yeah, I definitely chug some water, and I'm definitely trying to get my breathing and just like recenter myself, basically.
And another place where it's hot where you play is down in Texas, right? I talked with Coach Carmichael about this earlier. Looking at the media guide, realizing just how many players you guys have from Texas, you being one of them. I think you're from Denton, actually, which is, I lived there for like 7 years, so I thought that was kind of cool. But why do you think there's so many players on your team from Texas? Like, is there just kind of a guess you have behind that?
I'm only guessing is the fact that, like he said earlier, like there's like a ton more players in Dallas-Fort Worth area than compared to like Oklahoma and such, because of the fact that we have such a vast variety of like clubs and teams and like trainers and such like that we have the access to consistently. Maybe that's just probably about it. I mean, I don't really know. That's just my guess, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a tough question, and I don't really know if there is like one answer for that question. Did you when you were getting recruited here? I'm not sure how you found out about Oklahoma State, but were you talking amongst other maybe Texas high school soccer players who had gone to Oklahoma State? Like, do the Texas high school soccer players talk amongst themselves about colleges and about opportunities like this?
Okay, well, in Denton, where I'm from, there's not a lot of like high-level athletic soccer girls or soccer players in my area. So like I was mostly surrounded by the Dallas, Frisco, that area of DFW. But yeah, we definitely like, I know some girls from UT, Baylor, Texas Tech, like because I used to play against them or I played alongside of them. So like yeah, we all talk like, okay, like we all know like what colleges that we're all gonna go to. Like none of the girls that I was on the team with were going to Oklahoma State except for my teammate a couple years back, and she was the goalkeeper. So like me and her were like really good friends. So like honestly, it was more like we did talk amongst ourselves because like we're in such a small area in DFW. But when it came to just strictly like the OSU girls that are from Texas here, I didn't know most of them until I got here.
Gotcha. Thanks, Kionna.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. We'll have Emily in here now, and I'll just let you guys go ahead and chat with her when she sits down.
I'll go get her. I don't know where she's at.
Okay.
Hi.
All righty. Hello. All right, y'all can go ahead and get started.
Hey, Emily, what was your opening impression whenever you saw that OSU was ranked 6th in the latest poll?
It was really exciting. I was kind of I was really proud to be part of the team, and I think we all work hard and we kind of deserve this, and we're going to try to get up even higher than 6. So,
is there any added pressure that comes with being rated so highly so quickly?
I think there is, but I think it's more of motivation. Kind of gets me excited to play in these next few games to see if we can get even higher than 6.
And with a lot of the experienced players on the team kind of being there before, how have you been able to kind of feed off that kind of energy and keep it going?
To keep the energy going after finding out that we're 6? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like, how do you keep that momentum going, I guess is a better word for it.
I guess in practice we're really pushing each other. We know how hard we can work, and we keep the standard and keep pushing each other during practice.
Thanks, Emily.
Let me get unmuted here. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is kind of about last Friday's game against Iowa State. With the team getting off to such a hot start in Manhattan, last Saturday, I'm mixed up. The last game was, that was the first time that the team has played from behind all year, right? And, I'm just wondering, before Gabriella netted that goal, did you sense any desperation or any like shift in the way your team played?
I mean, I think we played harder and we didn't give up at all. These girls work super hard, and I never doubt their work ethic, and I just had faith in them that we were going to get the job done in the end.
Yeah. And do you find it, obviously the coaches may shift like formations or whatnot, depending on the time in the game or the deficit or lead that a team has. But what do you think, or are there any differences that you play personally or the team, being behind or ahead in a match?
I would say that when we are ahead, we kind of, take more of a defensive stance, but I feel like we all like to attack, so that's kind of a challenge for us sometimes. But when we were down, definitely more on the attack. Like we were taking more risks because we don't have anything else to lose at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then shifting gears a little bit, another thing I talked to Coach Carmichael about was, I believe it was Grace mentioned that in practice, one thing that you guys do regularly is practice PKs. So I guess that turned out that's good. They all practiced them based on last game's ending. But as a goalkeeper, what does it look like the drills for you when your team practices penalty kicks?
Well, I mean, what do you mean by that?
Does coach have 7 or 8 players line up and just take shots against the 3 goalkeepers or 4 goalkeepers, or is it just one goalkeeper blocking the shots, or how does that work?
We normally just switch off between 2 keepers will go with a certain group and then 2 will go with another group, and we just go from there. It's people who want to step up and take it, and then some people just want to try it. So whatever they give us, we're going to try to save. Okay.
And from the outsider's perspective, the PK is one of the most exciting shots in soccer, moments in soccer. Is the penalty kicks, and obviously blocking them like what you do is different than taking them, but do you guys like that drill as a team? Is it kind of one of the more fun drills that y'all do?
I think it is. It's pretty competitive because the goalie's not expected to save it, but we try our hardest, and we like to sometimes we might memorize where they kick, and sometimes the players will switch it up because they know we know. So it's kind of just a fun little competition between all of us.
Yeah, I know Grace told me that she always goes bottom left, but I'm wondering, would you consider penalty kicks more of a reactionary test or a mental test, a mental battle?
I would say it's mostly both, but there's just these nuances that kickers have, their tendency where their hips start, their feet start, where their eyes go. It's just stuff you can kind of pick up with experience and maybe even knowing the players. So it's all a little bit of both.
Okay. Have you ever been in a penalty shootout?
Yeah, I've been in a couple.
What was that like?
I get so focused, and I don't have any room to really worry or get excited. I'm just trying to save the next goal that comes up. So it's a lot of focus, but in the end, normally it ends well. So I kind of like doing PKs.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I'm the last question. Hey, Emily, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had one question for you. As a goalkeeper, I think you might have a little bit of a unique perspective on it. It's about substitutions, right? In most of the positions of soccer, you kind of sub in and out a little bit, maybe get some rest. As a goalkeeper, you stay in the whole game. What's that like, just staying in the whole game and, not having to, I guess, worry about substitutions coming to take your spot in the game?
I mean, I think it's a little bit different for goalkeepers just because of the position and the directing that we have to do and the leadership that we hold within the team in the back line. So when we do switch out, it's kind of I feel personally it's harder on our players to kind of adjust to the directing style of the goalkeeper, and then that could just throw off the whole, I guess, vibe of the team if it's not the same.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. As the goalkeeper, you are kind of the director or the coach out on the field there. Is it kind of do you ever in your mind, think to go yell out to a player to say, get back or come forward, and you're like, oh, wait, that player was just on the sideline? Is it hard to keep track of all the players coming in and out of the game?
I mean, I guess not too bad because we don't sub too much, and I mean, I can see them, but sometimes when I first got here and I didn't know everyone that well, I would do that and I'd be like, oh, no, I'm sorry, one person, but not anymore. I think I've gotten everyone's name down pretty well.
Yeah, I would think so. Thanks, Emily.
Anything else for Emily, or are we good to go?
We're good.
All righty.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see y'all Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Wade.
All right. Thank you. Bye.